Before we talk about numbers, let me ask you something quietly, honestly. When you imagine being rich, what are you really picturing? Is it the car, the house, the freedom, the silence in your head when you check your bank account? Or is it something deeper, something you don't usually say out loud, like finally feeling safe, finally feeling enough, finally letting your shoulders drop after years of carrying invisible weight? If you're someone who cares too much, money has never been about flexing. It's been about relief. In 2025, the idea of being rich is more confusing than ever. Social media screams one thing, your bank account whispers another, and your nervous system is stuck somewhere in between. We live in a world where someone earning more than you can still feel broke, and someone with far less can feel at peace. Psychology tells us that wealth is not a number, it's a perception shaped by comparison, fear, and expectation. And people who care too much feel this distortion more intensely than anyone else. Let's talk reality for a moment, gently. Statistically, being in the top 10% of earners in many developed countries means doing better than most people you pass on the street. On paper, that level of income or net worth would shock your younger self. And yet, emotionally, it often doesn't feel like richness. Why? Because your brain adapts faster than your life improves. Neuroscience calls this hedonic adaptation. What once felt like abundance quickly becomes baseline, and the goalpost moves again. For people who care deeply, this can feel like running on a treadmill that never stops. Move up to the top 5% and something strange happens. Outsiders assume you've made it. Inside, the pressure often increases. You now have more to lose, more people depending on you, more expectations to live up to, both external and internal. The fear doesn't disappear, it just gets quieter and more sophisticated. Instead of worrying about survival, you worry about sustainability, about maintaining, about not slipping backward. Carrying too much at this level can turn into hype, where rest feels irresponsible and slowing down feels dangerous. And then there's the top 1%, the number everyone throws around like it's a destination. But here's the hidden psychological truth. Most people who reach this level don't feel rich in the way you think. Many feel detached, isolated, or strangely empty. Not because money is bad, but because money alone was never the thing they were actually chasing. When you care too much, you often believe that one final number will quiet the noise in your head. But the noise doesn't come from your balance, it comes from your beliefs about yourself. This is where we need to challenge a dangerous societal myth. We're taught that richness is about being above others, not secure within yourself. But behavioral science shows that once basic comfort, safety, and autonomy are met, additional money delivers diminishing emotional returns. The difference between stress and peace is often far smaller than the internet wants you to believe. For many people, the psychological feeling of rich arrives long before the statistical one of they allow it. Here's the uncomfortable part for people who care too much. You might already be richer than you feel. Not because your bank account is massive, but because your definition of enough has been hijacked by comparison. When you constantly measure yourself against the top 5%, the top 1%, or a curated version of someone else's life, your brain never registers safety. It stays in threat mode, always scanning for what's missing. That's not ambition, that's anxiety wearing a suit. At the same time, we shouldn't romanticize struggle or pretend money doesn't matter. It does. Being able to pay bills without panic, handle emergencies without spiraling, and make choices without desperation changes your psychology profoundly. It gives you cognitive bandwidth. It gives you emotional space. It allows care to soften into presence instead of pressure. The healthiest version of wealth is not excess, it's margin. Margin in your time, your energy, your finances, and your mind. The unhealthy side appears when you believe richness will finally fix how you feel about yourself. When you think hitting a certain percentile will erase self-doubt, heal old wounds, or make you feel worthy. It won't. And that realization can be devastating if no one warns you. Money amplifies who you already are. If you're anxious, it can make you more anxious. If you're generous, it can make you more generous. If you're empty, it can make the emptiness louder. What actually changes when people truly feel rich is not their lifestyle, it's their relationship with control. They stop needing to prove, they stop chasing validation through numbers. They make decisions slower, not faster. They say no without guilt. They rest without panic. And ironically, many people reach this state without ever touching the top 1%. They reach it when their inner definition of success finally matches their external reality. For someone who cares too much, the goal shouldn't be to outrun everyone else. It should be to outgrow the version of you that believes peace is always one milestone away. Richness, psychologically, is when money stops being the loudest voice in the room, when it becomes a tool, not a judge, when it supports your life instead of consuming it. So how much money do you actually need to be rich in 2025? Enough to sleep without fear, enough to choose without desperation, enough to care deeply without burning yourself alive in the process. The rest is context, culture, and comparison. And here's the quiet truth no one says at the end of these conversations. The people who feel richest aren't always in the top 10%, 5%, or 1%. They're the ones who learned when to stop moving the finish line. They're the ones who decided that their nervous system mattered as much as their net worth. They're the ones who realize that caring too much doesn't mean sacrificing yourself forever. It means building a life where care can finally rest. So I'll leave you with this question, not to pressure you, but to ground you. If you stopped measuring richness by where you rank and started measuring it by how safe, calm, and free you feel, what would rich look like for you right now? And what's one small step you could take today to move closer to that version of wealth, not someday, but now?